Thank you, PJ. It is time for another edition of the Pair and a Spare podcast. I'm Justin Gaard from KFAN. We've got Ryan Burns from GopherIllustrated.com and Chip Scoggins from the Minnesota Star Tribune and Football Across Minnesota. He is battling. He is gutting it out today. It's January. You've got to be ready to go. And Chip is ready to go. How are we doing today, buddy? You good?
We'll see. We'll see how long this lasts. You got to play hurt sometimes, right?
You do. You do. It's weird
You
that
play hurt.
I feel, you know how they always say that your phone is listening to you? And
Yeah.
whoever's in charge is listening. So I don't know if my phone knew, they must have, that I was doing the Pair and a Spare podcast today, because listen to this alert that I just got as we entered the studio. Recommended charge limit. Based on your iPhone habits, a charge limit of 95% is recommended to help preserve your battery. I think they wondered, I need to go to the charge commissioner, Chip Scoggins, to 95%. They want me to cut it off at 95%, Chip. In your world, I think you would say that's erroneous and you would never do that.
Yeah, you're short changing it there a little bit, I think. 95%? No, come on. 100%.
Well, there is some, Burnsie, do you know anything about the technology? My father-in-law always claims that you can overcharge your phone, and I'd never heard of that. If someone could help me with what that means and how that's possible, but I'm getting from Apple a recommended charge limit to preserve my battery. Is there such a thing as overcharging? Hit the YouTube comments or find us on Twitter, because my father-in-law claims it's true, and like everything, it's polarizing. Chip's on the complete opposite side, 100% or nothing. Had you heard about this, Burnsie, at all?
I've heard about it. I think it was an actual thing in probably 5, 10, 15 years ago, back when those phones were around, which I will still stand by that those flip phones from back in like 2011, which could have lasted Chip like 4 weeks of real time with how sturdy and dependable those batteries were. Like a Nokia flip phone, Chip. You remember those?
I do, but if being at 100% ruins your phone, I'd go through phones like every 2 weeks. Like that can't be. That can't be true. Like, you can't convince me that's true.
Well, I'm looking at getting a new phone potentially today, because I've had my phone now for 3 years, and I know that if I don't keep it on the charger while I'm working, there is 100% chance by 5 p.m. my battery's just cooked, and I'm gonna have to be playing find the portable charger part of this. But again, that's been 3 years of usage compared to 2 weeks, so who knows? I don't know, man.
Yeah, we need somebody with a brighter mind than us to explain why this is important. And it's allowing me to set a charge limit right now. I can limit it to set at 95%. I think I'm going to do it. I'm going to see how long.
Why would you do that?
Because they're telling me to. Short? They're telling me to preserve my battery. They're telling me to preserve my battery.
Do you believe everything you read on the internet?
This isn't the internet. This is directly
the
right.
Irony of Chip Scoggins saying that statement is so funny to me.
Optimized battery charger.
I can't give them my credit card information, or they're going to steal it and they're going to run away to Appalachia and go buy enough moonshine and stills and whatever.
Trust
else.
No one. Haven't you learned anything about the world? Trust no one.
That's true. All right, so let us know in the YouTube comments, please, because I'm not going to set the charge limit yet, but I'm charge limit curious. I'm going to be honest. I'm charge limit curious right now on how it's going to go. We got some stuff to get to. The portal is closing here in a couple of days. Guys continue to go. Guys continue to commit. We'll talk about Koi Perich. We'll talk about Dylan Raiola. We'll get Burnsie's kind of final thoughts on the Gophers portal class. I did see someone on Friday night at the Gopher game that was right in the mix of all the transfer portal stuff, and they think Minnesota's kind of wrapped things up. They don't think there's anything crazy. We'll see if my source is correct. We'll let Burnsie file a report there. But why don't we start outside of Minnesota and start in the college football playoff, where we have our championship game. It's Monday night, Indiana and Miami. It's a home game for Miami, but it may very well be a home game for Indiana, given how Hoosier Nation continues to flock in droves. They took over Atlanta, no surprise, about a 7-hour drive to get there. It's the first time they've ever been this far. And the Hoosier football team made it a successful trip. I was driving down to the Gopher game on Friday, listening to the Indiana call on Sirius XM radio, and the first play is a pick six. And it never really got any better from there. Indiana continues to kill everybody. Indiana continues to be relentless. Indiana continues to be maybe the best story in college sports that we've had in a really long time, just because of the incredible way that they've burst upon the scene here and continue to raise the bar. Take it wherever you want to go, Burnsie. What stood out about the semifinals, and what are you expecting for the college football playoff championship game?
So while you were talking there, I pulled up StubHub because I'd seen the discussion, because I think we'll talk about Connor Stallions potentially a couple different times here, but Connor Stallions now the elite resale market mind. Chip, what do you think the cheapest ticket is on StubHub to get into the college football playoff final? 2 seats together.
The cheapest, I would say, nosebleeds $1,500,
$3,300.
Yeah, I was going to say
about Thursday morning. And if you want to get anything near close to the field, you're paying $10,000 plus.
Wow.
I mean, I don't know that we've seen a demand for, like, I know that I've watched Dolphins games this season, and I know they weren't flocking to watch Devon Achane or Tua Tagovailoa, but I think for this entire story, look, I'm the king of Narrative Street. So you've got Corey Heatherman, the local Minnesota angle, going against his former head coach and Kurt Cignetti, who he was with at JMU. So you were even able to hear Cignetti talk about like all the respect he's got for Heatherman. So I'm very curious to see how Heatherman tweaks his defense, knowing that he's going against a man who knows his defense better than anyone. But I think for this entire thing, I think for the romantic in me that still actually likes not just buying a team in college football world, I think I'm hoping Indiana does finish it off. Where I know Indiana's 2026 team is very much within the top 10 spending teams from my sources here within the portal. But this is one where I'm excited to see if Indiana can finally finish this off, Chipper.
Yeah, I mean, it was unbelievable to see the wide angle views of that stadium.
Yeah.
It had to be 95 to 5%, right? Indiana fans versus Oregon fans. So I assume those, going back to the ticket prices, I assume that's the Indiana effect, right? That their fan base is latched onto this magic carpet ride. I think they finish it off. I just think when you look at how dominant they've been, the thing that's most impressive about them is they're good at everything. Like, where are they weak at? Would you pinpoint and say, okay, this is where they're vulnerable? They're physical, great quarterback. They're fundamentally sound. They got great coaching. They're good on special teams. They're good everywhere. And so the momentum they have right now and just the way they're playing and the confidence, I will be stunned if they lose. I just think I think they're the best team. I think Carson Beck on the other side answered some questions with how he finished that game. And I think we talked about it last week, right? Would he be able to pull out a drive if he needed one? And he did. I mean, I think he answered some questions there. And that team's very physical. Obviously, Heatherman's defense is flying around and they're very physical, but I think Indiana's I just think they're so good. And when you look at what they're doing and just the destruction that they're doing to Blue Bloods, I mean, you have to start talking about historical when you think about how good they've been.
Yeah, I think if they finish it off, we would have to start looking at it. I mean, 2019 LSU is one that always comes to mind, right? With Joe Burrow and Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase and Ed Orgeron and Joe Brady, right? The offensive coordinator, the wonderkind of that deal. You know, what Burrow had like 55 touchdowns. Like, they just crushed teams. And I'm sure there's others. I'm sure Saban had some good teams. You know, we can go down the list. But yeah, when you think about for a 2-year run to, you know, have the year they had last year, then go up on top of it. And because last year, remember, if you recall, and I went back and looked because, you know, they really did have just an easy roll last year. Like, I think their best win was Michigan, who we found out is just not very good. Like, the Gophers should have beaten Michigan a year ago in Ann Arbor, right? They just didn't show up in the first quarter, and then the onside kick that, offsides that never happened and all of that. And they got kind of exposed, Indiana, in their 2 games that mattered. Ohio State, they got crushed. The playoff game, they were non-competitive against Notre Dame. So they had, I think, a pretty easy run to get where they were going to go. And I think the questions were legitimate. But they took that momentum from a year ago and just added rocket fuel or accelerant.
Mm-hmm.
And now I don't ever think it's slowing down, because now it's a cool place to go. We know Indiana's a great college town. We know, like, their fan base is clearly supportive. They've got Mark Cuban on the sidelines now. That they didn't have him until about a year ago. They had other, financial partners, but yeah, you're right, Chip. They're good at everything. And Cignetti's got some time left. He's not 80 years old. He could probably roll for another 10 years here and then hand it off to whoever he wants to. So it's wild. It's wild to watch.
I even felt like I was watching on that first play from scrimmage, Ethan Kaliakmanis versus Michigan, when it just seemed like they knew the call and they knew the call was coming. Turns out, in revisionist history, they did know the call and they did know it was coming. But even on the first play, I mean, they just jumped it, pick 6. And it's just like the amount of, and I've even seen the national college football media start to get into this, where it's like some of this is just their advanced scouting is some of the best I've ever witnessed, because they're ready for every possible look, even when these teams even hypothetically haven't even shown it. Now, either that's just a great job by their advanced scouting team, or I think we'll see if that remains true down the line. It's just like they always are ready to go. They're always ready for every look. Again, I know I'm talking about a Minnesota team even that was among the worst in college football in the first quarter of any college football team in 2025. They were horrendous, like offense, defense, special teams. And Indiana is the complete polar opposite of that. But to see how every game they are just completely prepared for these unscouted looks, and then they execute at this high level off the rip, man, is it fun to watch.
Yeah, and I think it obviously when you struck gold with the quarterback, you bring in a quarterback and he's Heisman, and he is so good. I mean, his accuracy, what was the stat where he had like 5 incompletions and 7 touchdown passes? And
I think it's more.
I mean, come on.
I think it's 9
absurd.
Touchdowns and 5 incompletions in the college football playoffs so far.
That's efficient. This is not like, it's not non-conference. That'd be impressive if you're doing that against, somewhere state. I mean, this is college football playoff that you're doing it. But to me, just how physical they are along both lines. I mean, they are just winning that decisively against teams that, we hear it every broadcast. They have all the 4 stars and 5 stars, and it's kind of become their cliche and their rallying cry. And it's, they use it. I don't know, I guess there's legitimacy to it if you look at those rankings, but they have just some absolute beast along the lines. And that's where it's starting for me.
They just execute so well up front every single game. Like you watch slow motion replays of their touchdowns or these long explosive runs or them getting a 3 and out. It's like, okay, their defensive line is completely where they need to be. They're getting penetration, or their offensive line is executing like this complex scheme, and they're turning this 5-star future NFL guy. And it's just like how they are the most confident college football team. And I think it's Sig's persona. It's Sig's up 38-7 on the sidelines, and he's looking like he's getting a colonoscopy. Like, it's part of the persona of that team, and they've embodied that coach. Where it's, I truly think, regardless of the outcome for the final game, we're going to be talking about this Indiana team just being one where they've completely shattered reality for teams such as Minnesota, where now all fans expect is, well, I see Indiana do it. Why can't this team do it? Because what Indiana is doing is truly unprecedented with the roster that they have. The way that they've hit on 90+% of whoever the hell they brought in is just not the norm. It's so far above the standard deviation that it has just broken the minds of so many people. And I get it, but I mean, they are just such a fun football team to watch, and it's from their goofy quarterback on down.
Well, and did you hear the thing about the announcers were talking about the coaches and when they were at what was the first stop? IUP, is that what it was? Guardsy?
Indiana University of Pennsylvania. Yep.
Yeah, and they're basically had to go on food stamps to help help survive, basically, because they were making no money. And now here they are with these, massive $3 million contracts or whatever.
Signetti's making
I like those stories. Yeah. They weren't born on third base as coaches, as Mace would say, right? I mean, these are guys that had to do it the hard way. And here's the thought. Let's say another school had hired Signetti. Pick a school that, that not a blue blood. Would this story have happened there too because he's that good of a coach?
It's a heck of a hypothetical. I mean, what I would say is they did get a running start because of how Indiana got to just roll through a bunch of bad teams. I don't want to make it all about that, but they got a really good head start because of that. He was just rolling teams, right? And obviously we talked about it last week. I think James Madison, he did such a good job of evaluating there, right? Those guys. And he's talked about what Saban taught him about evaluation. And, he's looking for ankles and bend and all these weird things. It's everybody should be doing that. I didn't know we have to go to kinesiology school, I guess, to learn how the ankle's supposed to move and he can identify it. It's a great hypothetical. I don't know because it does. I've been thinking about this because Burnsie, you're right. Everybody, and I know you hear it probably more than anybody. Everybody wonders, well, why can't a team like Minnesota do this if Indiana can do it of all time? They struck lightning. It's not luck because they made it, but a lot of coaches are hired every single year, right? They found the perfect coach at the perfect time for them when all the stars were aligning, and because he's a good coach, they haven't missed. They have not missed their moment. A lot of teams have their moment where you can hit it and go. He is not, and Minnesota over the last 20 years has had their moment, right? We've talked about it on this podcast. They've had their moment where you can, as I said earlier, put some accelerant on this thing and get the fire going, and then it just builds and builds and builds. You give it more oxygen, and all of a sudden you're cooking. Everyone in the country could have hired Kirk Signetti. Everyone. He was 62 years old when he got his first big coaching job, right? I mean, look, I pulled up his Wikipedia. He's a GA at Pittsburgh. He coaches wide receivers and quarterbacks at Davidson. He's the quarterbacks coach at Rice, quarterbacks coach at Temple, quarterbacks coach at Pitt. NC State quarterbacks coach. He goes to Alabama, I think, for 3 years or 4 years. That's what he says kind of changed everything. Then he goes to IUP, which until 10 minutes ago, I didn't know was Indiana University, Pennsylvania. I would have thought it was Indiana University, Purdue, but that's IUPUI, Indiana University, Purdue University, Indianapolis.
The fringe NCAA team that I always see on the bracket and have since about 2001.
Ooey Pooey. It's not them. It's Oop. Oop. That's what they call them. IUP. Then he goes to Elon. I still have no idea where that is. And James Madison, obviously we know where that is. It's been, pretty well thought of here, jumping up from FCS. But that's the thing is every school in the country could have hired this guy. He was 62 years old, just waiting for it, winning games at IUP, Elon, and James Madison. And so good job by them. But also I don't know if another school would have hired him, Chip. That's kind of my point. When you're looking to win the press conference, as all these guys do. I mean, Don Fisher even said on the 60 Minutes thing, I didn't even know who this guy was. I'd never heard of him before. The 50-year voice of the Indiana Hoosiers said, I didn't know who this guy was. I did it. I Googled him like he told us to and said, okay, well, he wins a lot of games, but that's why it's so funny is because it's just this dude that's just been working since 1983, well before Halloween of 1991 and a year after I was born. He's just been kind of toiling in anonymity, and now he's a legend in college football. He's a Hall of Fame coach now in college football, and no one had heard of him 3 years ago. That's what makes it so crazy. So I don't know if it can be recreated because there's not a lot of those guys running around. Maybe there's more than we think, but where just everything lines up perfectly and you find the perfect guy, it's gold. That's why it's so fun to follow.
Well, that's where I pulled up the coaching cycle that he was hired at Indiana. And you do have some names at the top like Kalen DeBoer at Alabama, Mike Elko at Texas A&M. But I think about a place like, okay, he was a James Madison. Well, Duke went out and hired Manny Diaz. Like,
Right.
could he have done it there? Could he have done it at, say, Washington, where Jed Fish was hired? Could he have done it at UCLA, where Deshaun Foster? What was your
Right.
favorite moment of the Deshaun
Well,
Foster era?
he was probably hired before Foster, right? Because Chip Kelly left in like around now, right?
Yep.
So they were a little stuck. But I get your point.
You also had Sharon Moore at Michigan, Jonathan
Yep.
Smith at Michigan State. Like, but to your point, anybody could have hired him at any point here.
Yeah.
Again,
With all his James Madison dudes, because that's a big part of it too.
Yeah.
He had a loaded team, obviously, at James Madison, because the guys that he left that didn't even come with him, they made the playoff too. So that shows you how good he was with that group.
Well, that's where you mentioned, like, he struck lightning, he put it in Thor's hammer, and now he's just raining chaos on all the realms. But like, it's the whole production over, say, star rankings thing that has gotten a lot more run here in Indiana's playoff run, where you look at their roster. I think I saw a stat that Indiana's average age of their starters compared to, I think it was the Green Bay Packers, they're like 2 months older than what the Green Bay Packers are. As from like,
do we know that's true? Because I've seen that's like fake news sometimes. Like I haven't verified it for myself, but
yeah, I also haven't verified it. But my point
not that
remains,
far
I
off.
think the average age of their starters is somewhere around like 23 years old.
That
Like,
helps.
They are.
Yeah.
This was supposed to be the year that if they were going to do it with their roster construction, that you're going to do it. Now, all I can think of in the back of my mind is a certain head coach in Dinkytown calling rosters of yesteryear the youngest in America, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, clearly Cignetti knows that you should probably be trying to just take the old guys. Now, the old guys got to be good guys, especially if you're going to be able to get them, and they want to leave their current institutions. But that's the other part of this that I'm so curious to see. I think we've seen more teams adapt to it in the last couple of weeks here with portal acquisitions. Is if you have a year left, it's your fourth, fifth, sixth, whatever it is, whatever year, you were more valuable because of Indiana. Because it wasn't just, okay, well, you were ranked the 78th best player 2 years ago, and then you had to redshirt, and then you got a little run, yada, yada. Minnesota did take players like that. So did teams all across the Big Ten and SEC. But I think the price tag went up for that proven production aspect of it. And maybe that's something these teams should have been focusing on more the last couple of seasons. But I think that was one of the interesting pivots from talking to college football teams across the country was proven production. Oh, you want some of that like Sig's got? Well, I hope you got 10 cents on the dollar ready to pay a premium for it, Chipper.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to cost you. Hey, Burns, I was thinking about this. Is it too early to notice recruiting trends changing in terms of perception of Indiana nationally, in terms of who they're going after, what kids are looking at them now? Is it too early to see that?
No, I think you're starting to see, even over the weekend, I think one of the All-American Bowls was out there and kids were committing, and I think Indiana got 2 or 3 of those guys. Now, they've got a bigger budget than they used to, but you also win at the level that they have consistently now for the last 2 years, and you're going to get into some doors that you would have had slammed in your shut prior to 2024. So, I mean, I think their location in Indiana is one where you can easily get to places, but it's going to only get better for Cignetti if he continues to hit at a level with his acquisitions, whether at the high school level or in the portal, which is, I will continue to say, I swear to God, it's at like a 90% clip, which no one hits at that type of rate for a sustained amount of time. And we're going to see if Cignetti can do it. Again, I don't know what it's going to look like next year when the 3 of us, well, I'll say the 2 of us, because we'll see if Chip ends up coming to Bloomington, Indiana at some point. But if he continues to hit the way that he does, sweet giblets and junipers, boys. It is, I mean, it's something like you haven't seen.
But now it should be easier for him because he's not going to.
It'll be easier,
Yeah, he won't have to take as many chances. Even though he'd probably argue, I didn't take any chances. I trusted my eyes and I know what I'm doing. Like that's what he would say. But now, now you're, like you said, you're in the small pond of big fish, of really good players. And why wouldn't they want to go there? Why wouldn't it? Because they're going to be highly compensated. They're going to be supported.
Yep.
They're the media darlings right now. And it's wild times in Bloomington. It's absolutely wild times in Bloomington. Anything else on the semis? I thought the first semi was a great game. And you said it, Chipper, the Miami drive. I was pulling so hard for Ole Miss. I didn't really go into it that way.
Me too.
And I'm like, man, these dudes, and they've got like two coaches, because Lane's like, it's a revolving door of, you can coach. Yeah, you can't. Nope, you're out. You got to come here. Like, I don't even know who's on their staff. I assume the kids did. And they played great. And, Chambliss with his drive, which was awesome, to put them up. Like, that could have been the storybook right there. It absolutely was a pass interference on the last call. They should have called it. However, I will say they had a couple of drives kept alive by pass interferences that I'm not sure I would have called. So all that stuff kind of evens out. But that was just a hellacious game. And credit to Carson Beck, because he did make plays that he needed to make in that final drive that put the U at a home game in name only at Hard Rock Stadium on Monday the 19th. But it's been great. Playoffs have been great. I think the playoffs have been a resounding success, and I can't wait till they put 48 teams in a couple of years, and we get to do this for 2 months.
Oh boy, can't wait. Yeah.
Anything else?
I think we should talk about our partners.
All right, let's pause to not 10 seconds. We're not doing station ID, but we are going to pause to talk about our great partner at Jack's Cafe, jaxcafe.com, to make your reservations. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, you can see the website right under Chip Scoggins as we speak. Make your reservations at jaxcafe.com. Holiday season's over, but if you want to do a company party, we actually have a company party. iHeartRadio is doing our company party at Jack's Cafe about a month from now, a couple of weeks from now. I, unfortunately, will be in Iowa City with Gopher women's basketball, and I was devastated because it is the best place. I can't wait for everybody in my company that hasn't been to Jack's to see Jack's and experience the vibe, and hopefully, I know they'll be repeat customers like so many of our customers are. So thank you, Jack's Cafe, for supporting the iHeartRadio family, even though I will not be there. I will be there in spirit. But if you just want to go for a date night, or like Burnsie does, take his buddies, double date night like Chip does, take his wife, the free parking. It's just, I'll never stop saying enough good things about Jack's Cafe, Burnsie.
Well, that's where they are just so versatile, where they can handle your company party. And then for the folks, I would assume on the lower level there, business as usual, fantastic service, some of the best steaks or walleye or even the burgers. Again, I think the burgers are one of the most slept on things there. Now, you're not going there to get it, but if you do get it, you're going to be like, this is a high quality meat. And then we obviously know the Chip at the very end, as I do now every time, if only for the meme, we get what?
You get the creme brulee, baby. Creme brulee, best creme brulee. I would love to see Guardsie's face when you saw the date of that and you realize that you're going to be out of town. You couldn't go to the party. But hey, shout out to our guy Jeremy. He sent us a photo on Twitter, and what his matchbook says, Parents Night Out.
Yep.
How awesome was that?
Absolutely.
So assuming this, Jeremy and his wife got out, kids are at home, found a babysitter, took his wife out for a nice dinner. Congrats, Jeremy. Thanks for sending us a photo. Let's see more of those. Send us those photos. We love seeing those.
Yep, it's a great spot for a date night. It's a great spot for a happy hour. It's a great spot for a company party. It's all good. Great spot for lunch. The brunch we haven't even talked about. That's elite as well. It's all good. Make your reservations. Learn more about a place that's been here nearly 100 years at jaxcafe.com. It's jaxcafe.com. Burnsie, are you done? Is it over? I read your notes every day. I read your notes at gopherillustrated.com every day. The transfer portal, it opened January 2nd, I think it was. Was that a Saturday?
Yeah.
It closes here, 2 or 3 days from now? Players have to put their name in. They don't have to commit anywhere, but they got to put their name in. And obviously schools are starting all over the country. So if you want to be eligible for spring practice and stuff, allegedly you need to be in school. So we're going to get a lot of news here. But has the wave crested? If you've gotten everything you need to get, have the Gophers gotten everything they need to get out of the transfer portal?
They believe so. I think they're sitting at about 19-ish guys that they've taken.
I saw that. That's a lot. That's a lot of dudes.
It is. So they've addressed offense, defense. I'd argue about special teams, but that's not here for this specific podcast. So, yeah, they had 20-something leave. We'll talk about the Koi situation, which finally came to a conclusion last night. But, yeah, they were very active in the first 10 days. Now, the point, I think there's a couple of them, is I don't anticipate any more in terms of commitments. Now, I also think that I don't anticipate any more departures with these final few days of the portal coming up here. You have the school component, which I know is we're now 30 minutes into a podcast. We haven't even talked about the student part of the student athletes of all these guys, which we can argue about how important and not important it is in this day and age. But for a school even like Minnesota, classes start on Tuesday, a week from today.
Right.
Like they have to be, if you're going to be even thinking about taking a guy at this stage, he's got to be he's got to go through the admissions process. Now they can expedite it, obviously, but there's so much of this where it is still, can they get in? When does your spring semester start? Yada, yada. But it's been a wild ride to follow along with all these 19 commits, or even to see where some of these Gophers are going, like Femme Ejeboy. He's going to be going to Purdue. You have Malachi Coleman completing the villain arc where he's now going to Madison, Wisconsin.
Saw that.
And so we'll see both of those two players on the schedule next year, see how they do against their former team. But it is truly what I imagine free agency is like in the NFL. And it's even more chaotic to where we even saw with Nebraska. They get the backup quarterback at Notre Dame committed, but he doesn't sign his papers, and then he flips to Kentucky, which leaves Nebraska like sitting there holding just nothing. Then they have to pivot to the UNLV quarterback. I mean, for me, part of it, I know what it's like to be in it in terms of covering it, but then there's also part of me where you get to kind of get a nice thing of popcorn and watch the Real Housewives of Lincoln, where they get it stolen out away from underneath them, and you're like, oh boy. It's just like stuff that only can happen in college football continues to do so.
Well, you mentioned free agency. It's if NFL players could have free agency every year.
Sure.
Not every 4 years. Like if you're a free agent every year. You said 19, Burnsie. It's like every year is like the brand new first day on earth. I have to take the roster and figure out, okay, who's on this team now? Obviously, I don't follow the roster construction and management as closely as you do, but for someone who's not in it as day to day, it's made following college football. I'm like, oh yeah, that guy plays for them now, or I thought he played for here, and like you lose track of who's where and what. So we'll have to relearn another team come spring ball and fall camp.
Well, I had the Gopher women's basketball team played USC on Sunday, and as I'm getting my stuff ready, I go, London Jones, how do I know that name? Or I just said, well, yeah, London Jones, that makes sense. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. I go, wait a second. And I look, she played at UCLA last year. Like UCLA, it started like 30 games over a couple of years. Like
no love lost anymore with these kids, man.
Just like moved apartments. I'm like, I guess that makes sense. It's just one of the funny examples. It's like, all right, well, she's a Trojan now. I guess she was a Bruin last year. Bruins are here on Wednesday. So take us through. Like I was looking at the 24/7 rankings, Burnsie, and the Gophers in the portal rankings are ranked 5th in the Big Ten. It's Penn State, who had 35 commits. I think a lot of those were Iowa State guys, right, with Matt Campbell and then some others. Ohio State is 2nd. Indiana, as we talked about, is 3rd. USC is 4th. And then your Golden Gophers are ranked 5th in the 247 Sports deal, which guarantees nothing, but it's better than being 18th, right? I mean, just when you look at because obviously you're going off numbers and you're going off production and you're going off whatever. Your company obviously follows that on a day-to-day basis. So I think it's good that, you're in that mix. Like it doesn't, let's say if you're picked 5th, I don't think you're going to end up 18th if I'm describing it right. Like in terms of production and portal and all of that. So what do you think the headlines are in terms of who's coming? Maybe not names specifically, but did they do enough on the defensive line? Did they do enough on the offensive line, secondary wise, receiver wise, all the needs that you talked about?
I think the discussion really just comes back to Koi, where it's because of Koi's salary not being on the team. I think they were able to be flexible with what the market gave them. where I don't think it surprises anyone to know that I think Koi would have made over $1 million here at the University of Minnesota. And because they didn't have to pay that, they were able to, I think, just bend to whatever the market was going to give them. Because I think the things I learned from this portal cycle were if you wanted a defensive lineman, you were going to have to pay up the wazoo. I mean, because the supply and demand of proven defensive linemen is something everyone needs.
Right.
And because everyone needs it, the price on them is 50% above what you were potentially thinking. But Minnesota is still able to go out and get a guy from Cal by the name of TJ Bush, who I will be very curious to see how he fits into the rotation, where TJ Bush, led Cal in pressure, sacks, yada, yada. I mean, he's been a very, very productive player in his 3 years in college. But if Koi Perich is here, I don't think you're able to add what may be a luxury item in a better pass rusher, or go out and get a Michigan State kid who played in all 12 games for Joe Rossi at corner, and then he hit the portal. Well, Minnesota's able to go out and get him. So I think the thing I would have learned is, I don't know that proud is the right word, because I'm not like a proud father to this program, but it's more so I'm glad that the staff was willing to adapt as the portal went on. I mean, you go in with a plan like any of us do, but the plan never goes to plan. And you have to be willing to adapt to what the actual real life conditions are that are going on. Now, I think in hindsight, we're going to see if Minnesota potentially allocating some more money to defense than offense is going to be a smart thing in hindsight, where I think there were some, especially defensive linemen at the end of where Minnesota was here, that they were like, so we can get in here if we potentially allocate some money away from running back or receiver, or not taking a second portal offensive lineman, but we can land this guy. Okay, well, let's do it. Now, we're not going to know for 9 months if that was the right decision or not, or even last year. I mean, I felt pretty decent about their portal class. I know I was excited about Khalid Tafai and AJ Turner, and then Khalid Tafai was on a milk carton, and AJ Turner tears 3 ligaments in his knee in September, and we never hear from him again. So, like, it wasn't a Brewster who called all these guys, what is it, paper tigers?
I mean, I don't know if Brewster did it, but that's okay. Paper tigers is something that comes up a lot. Yeah.
I mean, do I believe that they got their roster better? Yes. Now, I don't want to go any further than that, because I want to see these guys play football. Like, I was talking to some people in the building here even yesterday about their portal class, and they're like, yeah, we think we did pretty good, but we learned from last year. What do we know until we actually start to step out onto the field?
Right.
Like, we're not going to give ourselves a round of patting on the back before we even see these guys compared to what we have. But the thing over all of this that I would stress is they brought in competition, where at about 80% of spots, I mean, that's what exactly you need in college football, is from every winter workout to every lift to every practice for the next 9 months at places on the defensive line. I mean, it doesn't matter what you pick. You are going to be pushed every single day, that if you are going to step onto the field next fall, you will have earned that right, and not just given that right like maybe some previous years. So I think that's the thing that I've taken away from this, is they've got a lot of bodies now. And if you want to play, you're going to have to earn it, Chipper.
He's
just nodding and listening.
So it was garbled. Sorry, I couldn't hear you. It's I want to go back to your point about Koi.
Yep.
And it is interesting. And that was going to be I don't know if it's the trade-off is the right word, but I don't think his program's ever going to be in position to just shrug when you lose a high-end blue, 5-star talent. But that money that you would have spent on him should have helped you improve a couple positions.
Yep.
Go out and be able to really address a need or needs that you would have spent on safety. And I wrote this column and I if you have to spend wisely like Minnesota, because they're just not going to be able to spend because of the NIL with all the blue bloods, and you have to be just smarter with your money. I don't know, tying up that that's what it is, but we're guessing $1 million on a safety position is the best use of that money. And if you can get a offensive tackle, a rush in that's productive from Cal, you know, a corner, whatever. I just think it, from my perspective, looking at it, we'll see how this plays out. It seems like they were pretty wise how they allocated their money.
I mean, I would say so, where you still did swing at some positions like the Tennessee offensive tackle. I mean, he was pricey, and you knew that you had to go out and do that, but maybe you're able to afford a guy maybe in a tier above because you can use, I don't know, $250,000 of that money hypothetically to get to him, or you adapt to be able to take another defensive tackle. I mean, you want to be able to improve your roster. It's not just, okay, it's a 1-for-1 trade. Koi Perich for this. It's Koi Perich for 20% of this and 15% of that, yada, yada, yada. And the hope would be that at the end of the day, both sides look up and say, this is what got us better. Where Koi now gets to go to Oregon, and we'll get into that. But I mean, that's where I think the romantic in me still can't believe to an extent that Koi Perich did decide to leave. Nothing always surprises me in this day and age of college football in 2026. But I just think about the way that they bent over backwards to like fit him in on offense, fit him in on special teams, give him every snap on defense. You know, they sold jerseys. I mean, he's the most popular. We've spent the last few episodes going over this. I'm not telling you guys anything you don't know. And he still gave up all that to go to either Texas Tech or Oregon. And I don't know what happened to the whole, especially as, again, the in-state kid aspect of it too is the one where, hashtag one of us. And I know it's a bit, but again, you were the most popular player. Your jerseys were everywhere. You're from here. And you still looked in the mirror and decided, I'm going to throw it all away. I'm going to go chase a title. I'm going to go to Eugene, Oregon, which, look, Guardsy, you and I were just there. Lovely little shanty of a town with bungalows abound.
I don't blame him.
Yeah.
I don't blame him. He stood there at the goal line to return the opening kick or one of the kicks, and I'm sure he was like, it might be okay in the other end zone. Like, I don't blame him. But go ahead. I know you got a lot to get off your chest.
Again, I don't think he's this bad kid, and he is going to be one of the most unique players I've ever covered. And I think when I look back on it, I know it's certainly true in my 15 years of doing this, where I don't think he cares about the public perception or ramifications of his decision. He's very confident in his decision, which is why he made it in the first place. But it is going to be very interesting to see what it looks like for Koi Perich in year 3. Because, he can point to, 2026 and whatever that entails. But I would also point to, okay, well, don't miss more tackles than any other Big Ten defensive back like you did this past fall. Both things can be true. So I will be just very curious because I know what the reaction is here locally. And again, I know that the overlords with the rankings and the portal stuff think that he can walk into it and go get, 4, 5, 6 interceptions again. And maybe he can, because I think I've seen Oregon's entire defensive line is coming back.
Yeah. And
they were one of the best in college football.
Yeah.
Like they either spurned the portal or they spurned the NFL to come back. And I would guess that probably knowing that Oregon's defensive line might make more than probably Minnesota's entire defense. Like, let's not get this misconstrued, but maybe that leads to him having more success, Chipper. But I also think Koi's got to get better if he's going to have the impact you think he can have.
Well, that's it. He can't have a
leading missed amount of missed tackles.
Well, that's it. I mean, I went through the PFF rankings last week, and he was the 10th ranked defender on their team, on their defense, in terms of their overall grade. He did not have a good year.
No.
Now, I know his ultimate end game is to go to the NFL, and maybe he sees this as a opportunity to play in a national championship game, a better chance to play in the playoffs, play in a blue blood program. I'm guessing he got a pretty significant pay increase from what he would have got here So that factors into it too. So I don't blame him, but I think if we, as observers, fans, whatever, spectators, if you're clinging to the notion of nostalgia or one of us and why wouldn't he want to stay home, I don't think today's generation thinks that way. I think some do. I'm not saying, I shouldn't say a blanket statement, but I just think I think fluidity is so ingrained in the athletic culture right now, all the way up from youth sports, high school now, that I just don't think it's a big deal to kids to move to another school. I mean, clearly it's not. I mean, there was a stat the other day that basically 25% of FBS players are in the roster or in the portal. I mean, a quarter of FBS players are in the portal.
Right.
It's approaching 5,000 Division I football scholarship players are in the portal. Like,
the problem is, like, Koi Perich is going to get noticed. I bet a lot of guys go in there and just get, because there's so many. You better have a plan, and you better go in eyes wide open that you may not end up in a better spot than you think you're going to get. Right. So, but with Koi, I raised this in my column. I don't think he was here long enough to even talk about legacy with him.
Yeah.
Like, what's his legacy with the Gophers?
I mean, the USC game, the Purdue game, I mean, that's it pretty much. Like, and when you leave, your legacy kind of goes with you.
Yeah.
When you don't finish it out, I think your legacy kind of goes with you, which again is fine. That's his choice.
Yeah. He probably doesn't care about his legacy, but
I mean, as we said last week, like, he didn't even want to come to college, right? He wants to go to the NFL. He doesn't care about college football.
But I was thinking about this. I'm sorry, George. But I was thinking about the other day, you were talking last week, you were talking about, seeing these guys on the sideline, and, I think when Maroney comes back here and Adam Weber and, Blake Cashman, when they show his picture up there. But we think about, great Gopher players over the time. I think Esslinger and, Matt Spaeth and Maroney and all those guys. Like, when we think about 10 years from now, when someone says Koi Perich, what are we going to say?
That's a good question.
Great question.
USC. That's what we'd say, right? I don't know. He had a great freshman year, and that's about it. Or they might say the Cal game. They might say, the winnable road game, and that he screwed up. They might say that. I don't know. Yeah, it's I'm fascinated to see where all of it goes, because on the flip side of it, I was thinking about Oregon, like, the shout that they do at the beginning of the third and fourth quarter between it. They've got a bunch of former players in there, including Marcus Mariota. It's like, is Koi going to be one of those guys? Like, if he can go there for a year and have a great year, is he going to be one of those guys? Probably not, right? Which again is fine. Hopefully he has a good year or two there, and they embrace him as one of their own and all of that. But yeah, I've ran into a former player this weekend at one of my kids' tournaments, and he listens to the pod, and he was talking about the same thing. He's like, my whole life is my friends from that time. He's like, I'm still in touch with all of them. And my whole life is probably hyperbolic, but kind of echoing the point that I made, where he just said, the relationships, the friendships, but again, kids now, it's like when a teammate goes into the portal, like, here's what, as a 43-year-old, like, I've had this with people, like former coworkers, they're dead to me if they go somewhere else and work somewhere else. Like, sorry, like, we're competing. Like, I hope, I don't want anything bad to happen to you, but I'm not cheering for your success. Maybe that makes me small. Maybe that makes me petty. And now you go, whenever somebody, if Burnsie, says, I'm going to go, Luke Buer and I are going to start another Pair and a Spare podcast. I'm entering the podcast transfer portal. I'm not going to go be great, Burnsie, like everybody does. Go be great. Like, bleep that. I'm not doing that. So maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe he and Drake Lindsay are going to be best friends forever because they're best friends now, right? But they were. That's how I'm cut. But kids these days, to your point, Chipper, are not cut that way. Like, it doesn't bother them because I think they're used to it. They're used to playing on 5 AAU teams. I mentioned the women's basketball board. Even on women's basketball, when I go through it, like, half the kids have played at multiple high schools, right?
Yeah.
So they're all just kind of used to it, and that's stuff that we have to get used to. But yeah, I very rarely am I going to say go be great if I think you're leaving a situation that you shouldn't have. But that's what these kids say. That's what they do now. So maybe he has made lifelong friends here. I don't know. And again, if that's not what he wants, that's not bad either. I'm not criticizing that. Dude, very few people can go play football at the University of Oregon. It's one of those schools. And Burnsie, you and I were there. I still listen to Matt Carney coming home to Oregon like once a week on my way home. It was unbelievable. Like, so go be great, I guess. Go be great.
Well, that's where even like, I think if you put some truth serum in the coaches in Dinkytown, the moment he put his name into the portal, from the way I understand it, I never believed he was coming back, because I think there is part of that sentiment where it was like, we did everything for you. And it didn't go the way that we thought it was going to go this fall, but we still made and yet you still didn't want to come back to us. And I know that there were some, I don't know that hurt feelings is the right word, but like, it's the emotional aspect of you. There is still, and again, I keep saying the word romantic aspect of it, but it's, I've known Koi since he was a sophomore at ESCO. And now he's a sophomore in college. This isn't just a flash in the pan 12-month thing. It's 5 years in the making where you put blood, sweat, and tears into that thing, from Bad Moms Club back in high school to Ryan Day. And then he still said, nah, I'm out. And I think that definitely rubs some people over there, both players and coaches alike.
I'm sure
there is some of the, I think that sentiment where you, like you said, Gaardsy, some of the guys in the team, hashtag go be great. But also, I think Koi selecting a team that is also not on Minnesota's schedule until 2028. Say what you will. I don't think he probably wanted to do much with coming back to Dinkytown after something like that too. So who knows?
I would be surprised he even looked at that. I mean, I doubt he knows who Oregon's playing. And
yeah, I think it's good for everybody that they're not.
It is, yeah,
for everybody. Because again, it's 20. You wrote it, Chip. It's 2025, 2026. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Doesn't have to be filled with animosity. Yeah, I mean, I give him credit for committing here in the first place, right? Because it's a hard thing to do to be different than when Ryan Day comes. Yeah, it's just I give him credit. I give him credit for that. And it's never been easier to leave. It's never been harder to keep kids. So I kind of focus on, for all the sports, the ones that stick around and stay, because we also have no idea what is. You might, Burnsie, a little bit more than Chip and me, but certainly the general public, because I've talked to players' parents about this, like the amount of stuff that is being thrown their way in terms of, the tampering and the money and coaches, I'm sure it is overwhelming, and you do have to, and I'm sure there is a lot of opportunity that we never even hear about. And, even people talking to people's parents, and it's like, it's especially when a coach leaves or position coaches, like, it's never been harder to stay. It's never been harder to keep somebody. And that's just, so I give credit to those that, like the situation that they're in. And obviously I say it every week, they're not volunteering. They're getting money too. But it's just, it doesn't have to be, because the replies on your board and like the replies on the tweets last night, I mean, people are not taking it well. No. And I understand that too. But there's a lot going. There's a lot to deal with for everybody in the new world. And I still think we're adjusting to it a little bit.
Well, I just think it even comes back down to what you said earlier, which is just the separation of now. I think our generations are just like, even Malachi Coleman going to Wisconsin.
Right.
That would be unthought of. Even back in the day when Kim Royston came to Minnesota. I mean, I remember the hubbub about that back when. It's just, that just seems not to matter as much to this generation of kids, and it is what it is. But for the generations like ours who have it just, it's ingrained in you, it's a little bit different. And the reaction to it, both locally, social media wise, I think there might have been some people searching for answers at the bottom of a glass.
Yeah.
However you want to put it. But
Like,
yeah,
I haven't seen Go Be Great on Gopher Illustrated yet.
No, not exactly. Yeah. Yeah, the
Well,
hardcores are yeah. Anyways, it's just
anything else on Koi, Chipper, you want to get to?
no, I mean, I've in this new world, I've sort of taken and I advise this, like, you got, as best you can, strip away the emotion of it, because it's a business, and it's a business for all parties now, not just coaches, not just program. It's a business for players too, and they're treating it like a business.
I loved this tweet last night. I'll reveal who sent it after. Feel free to put, and you'll figure it out pretty quickly, feel free to put Johnson on the back of all those number 3 jerseys. No need to throw them away. That from our buddy at 3, Ron Johnson, the greatest bit, the funniest dude of all time. I was going to reply, when did you play? Because that's usually what I do when he talks about his former career. Love my guy, Ron. Well, if Koi Perich plays offense for Oregon, will Dylan Raiola be throwing him passes? How about this one? Timu Patrick Mahomes is going up to the Pacific Northwest, and we've seen quarterbacks go up there and have great success. I'm thinking about Dante Moore. Who has he announced yet what he's doing officially? Because he could go to the draft. He could also come back. I would imagine they've gotten pretty strong indications that he's probably going to the draft, unless Raiola's like, yeah, I'm fine backing up Dante Moore. That seems a little unlikely, but what do we think of this?
Well, I think it's almost like the Koi Perich bit, where it's like Koi looked very good as a freshman, took a step back as a sophomore. Raiola takes a step back as a sophomore, has the 5-star prospect pedigree. I mean, the talks are that even if Dante Moore does come back, that apparently Raiola is okay with just sitting there holding the clipboard and just getting ready to.
Yeah.
Now, again, I'm going to be very curious if Dan Lanning, after losing both coordinators to head coaching jobs, can continue to replicate the magic, which is why I almost think Dante Moore, without Will Stein, potentially does leave. But I am surprised that Oregon had interest in Raiola. Now, I understand that my viewpoint as the Minnesota guy, where Raiola played like absolute garbage, or Minnesota made him play like garbage. Like, I'm not the best source of if Dylan Raiola is any good, but Chip, he's got to get a lot better if he's going to live up to the pedigree here.
Well, I mean, Dante Moore will be a top 5 pick, top 3.
Allegedly, Mel Kiper's 2, top 15.
Yeah. So it is funny. Talk about the business part. That's how much quarterbacks in college can make, that it's even a decision. Like, do I stay here and make, what do you think Dante Moore would make it Oregon, $4 million?
Yeah.
You know, or go into the NFL and to a bad team and make less money that first year. But I'm not a big Raiola fan. I was not impressed in the least when they came here, and maybe that's not fair to watch one bad game from a guy, but you know, I would probably want to watch every one of his games closely to see. But I thought when he played the Gophers, I just thought the guy held onto the ball and took way too many sacks trying to make the hero play. And yeah, he can have splash plays where he throws one left-handed or he scrambles around and does something kind of that you don't see too often. But now conversely, surround him with better talent, maybe that brings out a better version of him than what we saw at Nebraska.
That's the thing. If you're good, it's easier to play with good players.
Yeah.
When you have a bunch of good, and I think that's going to help Koi. All right. Mm-hmm. It's easier to play with really good players. And that's why good players like to play with good players. I'm fascinated by the whole thing because they know quarterbacks in Oregon, right? There's like 6 of them in the NFL right now. Mm-hmm. So we'll see. Anything else? How's your sleep schedule now, Burnsie?
It's getting better. And now that we don't have to do notes at midnight or past midnight. Yeah, my wife enjoys seeing me again. So that's a very good thing for me.
Oh, that's good.
But yeah, now we get into dead period gets over, I think, Thursday. And then coaches go out on the road to recruit juniors in high school, which this is the latest that's ever happened. So the whole calendar continues to get a little bit more little bit more interesting every year. But I'll say this: I cannot wait to watch Heatherman versus Fernando Mendoza, because those
Me
pass
too.
rushers against him,
Yeah.
man, I can't wait to talk about it next week.
Well, I'm excited to watch another 55-20 victory for Indiana, and just that be the story. That's my prediction.
There you
But
go.
we'll talk. I want to talk about that. I think next week we should talk about the calendar. There's also some college football playoff steam in terms of expansion that we should get to. There's a lot of bigger picture things that we can get to next week. So we will definitely do that. I'm taking a look at my phone. Yep, I'm 100% charged. I'm going against the recommendation.
Yeah, don't
at the
stay at
beginning of the
95.
podcast. I went against the recommendation for battery optimization. We'll see if that slows me down. I'm a little nervous about it now. Please reply in the comments on the YouTube channel of what that means and why I should consider doing it. We know Chip never will, obviously. No. We know Chip never will, but
why would you stop 5% short of being great? Like,
I'm not
you're
sure.
right there.
That's what I'm trying to figure out, because my father-in-law has a lot of theories. Every once in a while, he's going to get one. Every once in a while, one of them's going to hit. And apparently, according to Apple, this is one that I should be thinking about. So somebody help us out. Make your reservations at jackscafe.com. And I'll leave you with this message. You guys have anything else you want to add?
Go for it.
We're good?
I made it to the end without killing over.
You did. Congratulations. We'll talk to you next week on the Parent and Spare podcast. To all of you out there, go be great.